What's going on, fellow YouTube investors? It's the Dividend Bloodhound here with yet another investing video. This time we're going to be talking about stamp duty. Now, what's stamp duty, I hear you say? Well, it's a tax. Right, we'll get down to it in a second. I'm just going to quickly plug the channel. If you like what you see today, please smash that like button or subscribe to my channel if you're new around here. Be great to have you, happy to have you. And if you've got your own channel that you want to grow, please just smash a comment in the comments section and I'll subscribe straight back to your channel. After all, we're here to help each other out. Right, straight down to it then. Stamp duty is a tax leveraged on the purchase of property in the UK. Now, there are some rules and exemptions around this. Such as if you're a first-time buyer across the country, you are exempt up to £300,000 on your first property or joint property with somebody else. This is a massive tax exemption which takes a big chunk of cost out of the cost of buying a property. It's already expensive enough to buy and save up a deposit as it is. So this is a really good thing for first-time buyers. And the government is all about trying to get first-time buyers onto the property ladder at the moment. If you live in London, you get up to, I've just noticed that says 50,000 when it should say 500,000. So if you live in London, you get up to 500,000 of tax-free stamp duty allowance, which is again another good thing. And that's to make up for the expense of living in London. And it does say on the government's website, UK government that is, that they will extend this to other expensive areas or deemed expensive areas across the country as well. You'd have to do a little bit more research into that yourself to find out whether your area qualified or not. Now, the big thing is the tax increased recently on additional properties. So landlords like myself, as you will have seen in my other investing properties, in my other videos on the BRRR method or my 11% yielding flat or my 6% yielding flat, both in other videos that you can check out just on the playlist to the right of the screen there. This tax massively affects landlords purchasing additional properties. It's almost leveraged as well to be, it doesn't affect landlords that own established landlords that own 10, 20, 30, 40 upwards houses, because the rate is a flat rate no matter how many properties you own. So if you own 20 properties, for instance, worth, I don't know, £4 million, then you will still pay the same rate of tax as a person buying property 2 or property 3, which is what I'm looking for. Now the rates are as follows. So you can see there that you pay an additional rate on every penny you spend. Every penny that you spend on your property, unless the property is worth less than £40,000, then you are exempt, which is another win. But you have to be in quite a rare part of the country, or I don't want to say up north, but properties in Liverpool and properties in Manchester and up that sort of way do come into that bracket sometimes, especially if they're in dire need of development. And there is a niche market there for investors to get involved in that. Buy a property for less than 40,000, spend 10 or 20 on it, and then you bang it back out there for about 60 to 80,000, rent it out, and you've got all that money banked up in there. That's kind of another video, but all you need to know is if you buy a place for under 40,000, if you're lucky enough or whatever, or you're looking in that part of the country, you are tax exempt and it won't cost you anything. But for most of us, or most landlords, you will get hit by this. So 3% on anything up to £125,000. You have 5% on anything from 125,000 to 250,000, and you get 8% on 250,000 to 925,000. And then if you're lucky enough to be purchasing a property for over 1.5 million to infinity, essentially, you will pay a hefty sum of 15%. that will be a considerable bill should you be looking to do that. But at the same time, a lot of people would argue, well, if you've got over 1.5 million to spend on a property and you've got additional property, you can probably afford the tax, to be fair. Just a quick example that I threw together. This is very loosely linked to the flat that I bought in Birmingham, my 2-bedroom place, my 2-bedroom apartment, which I recently just let out to 2 really good tenants for $775 per calendar month. That is in a previous video, so you can check that out if you want to. So I paid $160,000 for the property, or just shy of that actually, but I will just go on what I've got here. So I put $160,000 into the calculator, so that's what will go off. So I paid slightly less stamp duty than this, but needs must. So that total bill would have been £5,500 for buying an additional property worth $160,000, and that's split down into $3,750. That would be from 0 to 125k, and then 1,750 from 125k to 250k. And it's important to note that if you are a prospective upcoming landlord, or whatever your property plan is, that is payable every single time you buy a property, and it is on top of your deposit, it is on top of your legal fees, it is on top of your property searches, your background checks, all of that, your building surveys, all of that, and that fee it's basically made property a little bit less attractive than it once was to some people, especially coupled with the landlord tax on the way they tax your income from property as well. So now, I'll briefly say it, but I'll do another video on this as well in the future, but I'll briefly go through it now. You're now taxed on instead of being taxed on the profit that you made, so the bit that was left over between paying your mortgage, or mortgage interest should I say, and your rental income, you're now taxed on the whole of your rental income. And for some people that has doubled their tax bill.